Hello, my name is Alicia Sanchez, and I have the privilege of serving as the Director in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion.
Hello, my name is Danielle Johnson, and I serve as the Assistant Director to your Home Away from Home, the Office of Diversity and Inclusion.
On behalf of the office, we're excited to be sponsoring this year's Juneteenth ICT Parade. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we're not able to come together, and we wanted to ensure the health and wellness of everyone. So instead, we're bringing you this virtual experience.
So luckily, we are able to provide this programming, but you may remember us running up and down 17th Street to get you all down to McAdams Park. Unfortunately, we won't be able to do that, but we want to thank Kristen Gunter and Films from Within for bringing this dream alive so that you're able to see this beautiful parade on display. So, from your home away from home, enjoy the parade.
Happy Saturday, Wichita, Kansas. My name is Kristen Marie Gunter, and I serve as the proud senior pastor of Rock Christian Fellowship Church. I also serve as the director of programs for Rise Up for Youth, as well as I sit on the board for the W in downtown Wichita, Kansas. I'm especially excited to serve on this year's Juneteenth ICT 2020 committee. Juneteenth is the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States. Dating back to 1865, it was on June 19th that the Union soldiers led by Major General Gordon Granger landed at Galveston, Texas, with news that the war had ended and that the enslaved were now free. Note that this was 2.5 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, which had become official January 1st, 1863. In less than 50 years post-slavery and Reconstruction, ex-slaves migrated to the Midwest regions of America. This is also known as the Exodusters movement. This resulted in many African Americans relocating to states such as Oklahoma, Missouri, and yes, good old Kansas. They came here for greater opportunities, land purchase, and work. Juneteenth has been celebrated in Wichita, Kansas as early as the 1900s, when blacks would celebrate what they considered to be their Independence Day. Juneteenth celebrations included song, story readings, food, and dance. Celebrations have evolved today into outward festivities consisting of uplifting themes, live dramas, art shows, poetry jams, panel discussions, unity initiatives among all ethnicities, and you cannot forget the parade. So in the past, we've always met up at Oliver and 17th Street, and we've taken that amazing historic journey to the historic McAdams. But this year, we're going to take it to another level. We are going to provide you with a virtual parade where we will highlight other historic landmarks right here in the heart of Wichita, Kansas. Now, this can't just be done any kind of way, so we are excited for the generous donations of Wichita State University's Office of Diversity and Inclusion. They are proud sponsors of this portion of the Juneteenth ICT 2020 Virtual Parade Experience. Now, starting out on this amazing journey, we're going to go to the historic Kansas African American Museum. The Kansas African American Museum is housed in one of the first African American churches built in Kansas. Calvary Baptist Church was once the cornerstone of Wichita, Kansas's vibrant black community, better known as Black District. Black District featured black-owned homes, restaurants, stores, schools, and other thriving businesses. Calvary Baptist Church was more than a place to worship on Sunday. The church served as an around-the-clock safe haven for Wichita's black community and guests. The church hosted jazz artists, Negro League baseball stars, and more when blacks were not allowed in area hotels. The church was built in 1917 by its congregants. See, members worked nights and weekends separate and apart from their jobs to finish the church. The people who worshiped at Calvary Baptist Church endured painful racial segregation and fought those conditions with dignity and faith that things would someday change. Take this journey with me. You'll be glad you did.
Welcome to the Kansas African American Museum. I'm Dr. Lana Reeves, the Education and Community Outreach Director, and we are sitting in the historic Calvary Baptist Church. Originally built in 1911 by the African American men who were church members here. And also it was torn down in about 1915 because it was declared a fire hazard because of the brick that they used. It was facade brick. But they rebuilt this church in 1917 and it has been standing ever since then. And it was around in the 1970s when it became, when the Calvary Baptist Church moved north. And then in the early 80s, it became the first National Black Historical Society. And then later it became the Kansas African American Museum. One of the things that is also original to this church, the original building included lead-lined stained glass windows that were shipped over from Germany, and they were re-leaded around 1988 to 1992. The stained glass is still original from the original windows. And also, we are sitting in front of the Shades of Strength and Beauty, our latest main gallery exhibition curated by our curator, Paris Cunningham, and several artists from across the state of Kansas, all women of color. And it features women of color showing women of color's strength and beauty. Now, if you go upstairs to our Africa to Kansas, or our Journey Through Kansas gallery, you will meet Junius Groves, who is known as the Potato King of the world. Now, when he came to Kansas, he was about 20 years old and had about 90 cents in his pocket. Within 5 years, he was married and owned his own farm. Within 20 years of arriving in Kansas, he was worth about $1.5 million in today's dollars. Within another 11 years, he had just about quadrupled that, and he did that by growing potatoes. You want to learn more about Nicodemus and come and learn about the early days of Wichita when African Americans lived right here in this neighborhood. We have a wall dedicated to the early days of Black Wichita. And then we also have what we call our Africa to Kansas room, which features art and artifacts from all over the continent of Africa. Only 2 pieces in the room are not from the continent, and they are from African Americans. And they are, one piece is completed by Miss Samela Lewis, who is the art historian who collected the pieces for the gallery, and the other is by Hal Woodruff, and his piece is also hanging at Clark Atlanta University. Again, we are open from 10 to 5 Tuesday through Friday and noon to 4 on Saturdays. Come on down and check us out. Learn a little bit about African American history at the Kansas African American Museum.
That was absolutely amazing. I hope you all had a wonderful time hearing about the Kansas African American Museum, contributions from people such as Junius Groves, and then being able to experience none other than the Dr. Lana Reeves, who serves as the Education Director at the Kansas African American Museum. Next stop, the Dockham Sit-In. Now, in the summer of 1958, 24 students from Wichita staged what would become the first successful student-led lunch counter sit-in of the civil rights movement. The Ambassador Hotel Wichita now sits on the historic Dockham drugstore, once was, complete with a speakeasy named Dockham tucked in the basement. It is notable for happening after the well-known 1960 Greensboro sit-ins. In July of 1958, several Black teenagers, members of the local NAACP, entered the downtown Wichita, Kansas Dockham drugstore at the corner of Douglas and Broadway and sat down at the lunch counter. They were not breaking a law, but they were violating a store policy. The store ignored the youth, but they returned day after day and sat quietly at the counter from before lunch through the dinner hour, week after week. Despite the intimidation tactics of police and a group of local whites, the protesters continued their peaceful sit-in. On August 11, the owner of the Dockham drugstore gave the historic, "Serve them, I'm losing too much money."
Dockham sit-in was comprised of a number of predominantly Black youth in Wichita, Kansas, who participated in activity to get more justice, essentially for Black folks when it comes to eating establishments in downtown Wichita. we could get food to carry out. That usually wasn't a problem. But to sit down and eat downtown, and I should say there are always complexities. There was one exception, the farm cafeteria, which is a block away from here. They had great food over there, and we could eat over there. But when it came to Dockham, Cressis, Ennis, Bucks, Woolsworth, McClellan, maybe on occasion, but it was almost like somebody would say, don't make a habit of it and don't bring anybody with you. And that's one. Now two, the I started saying National Urban League, the National NAACP has staff people who go around to wherever the local chapters are. In addition to the adult chapter, they always make sure that the young adult chapter, especially in a city of this size, has some activities that will give us experience in pursuing justice, addressing some of the community problems. And I'm thankful they did, because that's part of growing up. And we made an activity out of it. And fortunately, over a period of time, we were successful. Not so much because they were in favor of so-called racial cooperation as they were losing money. I was just a member. I didn't have an office, and on occasion, I'd use my own imagination as long as it was consistent with what we were trying to accomplish here. As an example, for the most part, we're talking about the Dockham drugstore in downtown Wichita. But there were about 8 or 9 Dockhams. One night on a Thursday during school, along with another good friend of mine, Robert Newby, who lives in Michigan now, decided to test another Dockham to see if there was some parallel here, some consistency, and it was. They let us sit there 15, 20 minutes. When we approached the counter and perhaps the manager, they reinforced what we already knew. They don't serve black folks, as they should. And likewise, we stood on those who preceded us. You almost had your pick. We're not a perfect people, we already know that, but we could have done better than we did in terms of housing, employment, public service like Dockham's. And after bringing this to the attention of our our adult chapter, they brought it to the attention of our national chapter, and we got a go sign to get organized, get some officers, and see what else other communities might be doing, how they're addressing this problem, because it wasn't just Wichita, it was America. But at the same time, it was more complex than just saying we all lived in racist communities. The farm cafeteria is about a half a block from here. They served us without a problem. And the food was good too.
It's always an honor to hear from those that actually experienced the history that we're highlighting on this very day. Big thanks to Dr. Vesey for taking time out of his busy schedule to just give us extra insight on what it meant, how it felt, and just the significance of the Dockham sit-in that took place right here in Wichita, Kansas. Now, we will take a journey to the Double V. Double V stands for Victory at Home and Victory Abroad. The Pittsburgh Courier, one of the nation's largest black newspapers, stepped to the forefront in the struggle for racial inequality by launching its Double V campaign. Responding to a January 31st, 1942 letter to the editor by James G. Thompson of Wichita, Kansas, urging for a Double V campaign, the paper published 2 interlocking Vs with the theme Democracy, Victory at Home, Victory Abroad. In its February 7, 1942 edition, the major objective of the campaign was to encourage blacks to support the war effort but fight for civil rights. According to the Courier, the response to the introduction of its campaign was overwhelming. Its office had been swamped with telegrams and letters of support, proving that its slogan represented the true battle cry of colored Americans, and that they were determined to protect their nation and the freedoms that they cherished. It argued that African Americans would wage a two-pronged attack against those who would enslave us at home and those who abroad would enslave us. We have a stake in this fight. We are Americans too. Why fight in a war for freedoms we'll never experience? Victory at home and victory abroad. Big thanks to Corbin Clemens, who is a high school student who plays so eloquently on the drums, highlighting the double V. Now, we're gonna have a special moment with the wonderful, amazing, spectacular Hattie McDaniel. She was the first African American to be awarded an Oscar and blazed the path in the entertainment world for others who followed. She was a controversial figure, an African American actress that fought against racism in a profession controlled by old Hollywood's insistence on portraying African Americans in the most derogatory light. Known throughout the world as Mammy in the blockbuster film Gone with the Wind, McDaniel was revered as well as hated by her own race. Revered for breaking the race barrier in the pursuit of recognition, and hated for the role she portrayed on the silver screen. Few realized that in addition to being an Oscar-winning actress, Hattie McDaniel began her career in vaudeville and was a talented singer, songwriter, playwright, dancer, and comedian. Nor do they realize the things she did behind the scenes to improve the lives of others. Hattie McDaniel endured many hardships in pursuit of her craft and never lost sight of her humble beginnings, right here in Wichita, Kansas. Here to tell us a little bit about her is none other than our own, Miss Carla Burns. Now, Burns appeared throughout the world in musical and classical theater productions, operas, and revues. Highlights of her career include performances with the Paris Opera, the Teatro Real in Madrid, Cairo Opera House, and the Royal Shakespeare Company in London. She has also appeared in performances at the Metropolitan Opera as Lily in George Gershwin's Porgy and Bess, and in Noah Ames' Trio at Carnegie Hall in New York City. Burns is known for the one-woman musical that she has toured with and occasionally still performs. The show, Hi Hat Hattie. It was written by Larry Purr and examines the life of our featured actress, Miss Hattie McDaniel.
Hattie McDaniel, a world-renowned legend, born June 10th, 1895, right here in Wichita, Kansas. Oh, she could sing, she could act, she could dance. And oh, by the way, she was a songwriter. And she once said, "Oh, I'm gonna be on the radio. I'm gonna be on the radio." Here's a little song I wrote, hope y'all like it. Now look here, Johnny, I mean Mr. Brown, don't come here smiling, trying to run me down. Don't come here lying about your working late. 'cause it's your mama's gonna give you the gate. You told me your love was strong as Samson of old. Just stand still, brother, till I get you told. You never miss your sweet cake till your sugar's all gone. You never miss your mama till she says so long. You never miss the music till you're ready to sing. You think about wedding bells, but they will never ring. I thought I'd take you back some time ago. Thought I'd let you love me just once more. Several times I thought I'd do it, but someday I knew I'd rue it. But now I've changed my mind in the morning. But now I've changed my mind in the evening. But now I've changed my mind. Yeah. She was an amazing woman. She could sing, she could act, she could dance, as I said, and she was a mentor to me for all that I ever wanted to be coming from Wichita, Kansas. And believe me, I got that chance. But you know what you need to know? She was the first African American to be nominated for and to win an Academy Award for the movie Gone with the Wind. She was the first African American to sing on the radio. And she once said it was like getting paid to eat. She was an amazing woman. And with her, she mentored me from a distance. And I got the opportunity to sing what she sings, to go where she's been, and by all means, do what she's done. Let's keep on breathing. Let's keep on leading. Let's keep on entertaining with education and joy. Thanks.
Chester I. Lewis, the father, the colleague, the friend, but most important, the civil rights activist. Chester I. Lewis Academic Learning Center, located at 1847 North Chautauqua Street, 67214. When Wichita was incorporated in 1870, the public schools were integrated and the state of Kansas did not require public school segregation. However, a few decades later, in 1906, attitudes had evolved to the point that Wichita School Board was forced to establish a dual system for Black and white students. In 1966, the Wichita School Board first attempted to reverse racial isolation in its schools when it decided to allow students from Matthewson Junior High School to attend any other junior high school in the city if they provided their own transportation. The measure proved too little and too late, however, to satisfy those seeking broader desegregation. On February 11, 1966, Chester I. Lewis, an attorney representing the local chapter of the NAACP, filed a complaint with the U.S. Office of Education alleging discriminatory practices in violation to the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Chester I. Lewis's work on this case and many others, including the DACM, urged the socioeconomic integration of students that racial desegregation ought to be part of socioeconomic desegregation, and that no school should have a minority enrollment exceeding 20%. Matthewson is now named after Chester I. Lewis.
Chester I. Lewis Jr. was a man of many facets: lawyer, civil rights leader, agent of desegregation and change. Any of these monikers would be apt and sufficient in describing Chester I. Lewis, but to those of us lucky enough to call him family, he was far more than the sum of those things. He was all the things he tried to inspire others to be. He was kind, wise, stalwart, and an obstinate guiding influence in our lives. He instilled in his descendants the seeds of success, the means to access education, and the understanding that the only true way to improve economic standing and self-stability is through education. The same man who was and is an icon of civil rights and a hammer to the social injustice was the same man who used to enjoy sitting among the crowd of everyday people to enjoy WSU football games with his family. Chet, to those who knew him, filed over 60 civil rights lawsuits in his career. Many of those lawsuits include employment, public accommodations, and housing suits. His best-known lawsuit was the 192-page complaint filed in 1966, alleging that segregation in Wichita public schools violated the 1964 Civil Rights Act. 2 years later, the U.S. Department of Education and Health and Welfare endorsed his allegation and ordered the Matthewson an all-black school at that time, now named Chester I. Lewis Academic Learning Center, closed, and 7 other schools were desegregated. His accomplishments are numerous and well documented, but what we saw in him was simply father or grandfather. The softer side of Chester, beyond the lights of the courtroom and the dazzle of being a civil rights spitfire. His generosity was legendary, many times defending individuals, even while armed with the knowledge that they had no ability to pay. Chester I. Lewis stood for doing what is right and just for everyone. He believed equality was and is a basic human right, and every human being deserved to be treated as such. We, as a family, are incredibly grateful to the city of Wichita and their efforts to keep Chester's legacy alive and well now and into the future. Thank you.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long, 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 long time coming, and I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long, 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 long time coming, and I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Said I go to the movies and I go downtown, but people just keep telling me, don't you hang around. It's been a long, long, a long time coming, and I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. So I go to my brother. I say, brother, 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 can you help me, please? But he just keeps on winding up. He keeps on knocking me down on my knees. Lord, there are times that I thought I wouldn't last too long, but now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long, long, a long time coming, and I know change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been a long, 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 long time coming, and I know my change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Yes, it will.
Thank you, Malaika Bell and Natalie Roth. That was absolutely wonderful. And now, yes, now, we are currently at the Redbud Trail. Wichita Eagle journalist Becky Tanner covered an amazing story in 2015, capturing 3 rest plazas along the Redbud Bike Path in Northeast Wichita. This one includes art and stories from the people who live or once lived in this neighborhood. Stories and photos are placed on 2,000 ceramic tiles depicting the history of Northeast Wichita. Students from Adams and Spates Science and Communications Magnet participated by helping stamp and decorate the tiles. This beautiful work of art was done by Wichita's Tina Morena. Tiles highlight some of Wichita's most prominent African American families. Here to enlighten us with a musical tribute to our ancestors is none other than rapper, songwriter, producer, and proud Wichitan, Mr. P.C. Patton.
Juneteenth, 2020, Red Blood Trail. Ever since the beginning, yeah, it was hard for the black race. We never stood a chance. Some thought we was a disgrace. From civil rights to the different type fights. Slaves getting shipped from the left to the right. We ain't stand a chance. We made our own opportunities, from bus rides to water fountains. I know you feeling me. And Rosa Parks, that's her name, just to start. Strong mind like Martin Luther King, she had heart. But wait a minute, let's talk about what blacks invented. The traffic light, peanut butter, and air conditioner. The lawnmower, mailbox, and cell phone. The list goes strong, and I can go on and on. What about rhythm and blues and gospel and reggae, invented by blacks so we could dance today? I got a lot to say, but I can't do it in one song. They paved the path, they marched 100 men strong, struggled through the hard times. We never gave up. A lot of people representing black history, huh? What would I be if it wasn't for the leaders in the past? They paved the way, so now I'm following the path. Struggled through the hard times, we never gave up. A lot of people representing black history, huh? What would I be if it wasn't for the leaders in the past? They paved the way, so now I'm following the path. What's up?
Thank you, PC Patton. That was a wonderful rendition and expression of our love, our celebration, our heart, and our passion for African American history and the contributions that people of color have made to this amazing country, but specifically right here in the heart of Wichita, Kansas. Now, we're going to go to the historic Dunbar Theater. The Dunbar Theater is a movie theater in Wichita, Kansas. It opened in 1941, and it was named after an American author, Paul Laurence Dunbar. It is listed in the National Register of Historic Places since July 2nd, 2008, and the Kansas State Registry of Historic Places. It is located at 1007 North Cleveland Street in the McAdams neighborhood, which is a historically African American neighborhood. The Dunbar Theater opened on August 15, 1941, a time in which other theaters in the Wichita area did not serve African American patrons. It was designed by Raymond M. Harmon and built specifically to serve the African American community. The Dunbar closed in 1963. The city of Wichita twice attempted to condemn and demolish the Dunbar in 1980 and 1991, but the historic site was saved through community action. Restoration of the Dunbar is a project of the Power Community Development Corporation led by James Albertha, founding executive director, who hopes to reopen the Dunbar soon. Enjoy radiant tunes from playwright, actor, and vocalist Adrian D. Grafton-Reed.
Summertime and the living is easy. Fish are jumping and the cotton is high. Oh, your daddy's rich and your mom is good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings, you're gonna rise up singing. Then you'll spread your wings and you'll take to the sky. But till that morning, there ain't nothing can harm you. With mommy and daddy standing by. Oh, summertime and the living is easy. Fish are jumping, they're jumping, and the cotton is high. Oh, your daddy's rich and your mom, she's good with mommy and daddy standing by. So hush, little baby, don't you
Miss Adrian, thank you for gracing us with that wonderful musical selection. I tell you, it lit the entire theater up, and construction isn't even done. I can't imagine what wonderful works of art are going to be expressed in that space once it is complete. We cannot end this parade without opportunities to advance. With a theme such as Black Wall Street, we have to celebrate, acknowledge, support, and access places like this last stop, Founders Grove. Founders Grove is a partnership between Create Campaign Incorporated, Heartland Black Chamber of Commerce, Camp Destination Innovation Incorporated, and Real Men, Real Heroes. Christina M. Long is an entrepreneur and community builder. The 39-year-old Wichita native brings more than 15 years of communication and design experience to CML Collective. CML Collective is the graphic design and communication service company that she launched in 2013 after successful careers in education and journalism reporting for the Wichita Eagle. Among her numerous honors, Christina was named the Kansas Minority Business Advocate by the Kansas Department of Commerce's Office of Minority and Women Business in 2018. Today, we're here to highlight her trailblazing work as the president and CEO of Create Campaign Incorporated. Create Campaign began as an event in 2015 in partnership with the Entrepreneurship Task Force and has now grown to a standalone organization in Wichita, Kansas and Kansas City, Kansas. Create Campaign Incorporated helps entrepreneurs navigate through startup plans and logistics. Now, the Create mission is activating urban entrepreneurs in Kansas to launch, innovate, and grow. Their vision is to serve as the hub of minority business development, growth, and innovation in Kansas. Let's hear from her and those impacted by the Create campaign.
So when I think about community uplift and empowerment, I really think about all of the components that it takes to be able to have a vibrant community. Part of having a vibrant community is having a strong economic base. Entrepreneurs help to fuel that economic base. When I think about the passion and the work that I have for Create Campaign, it really is about making sure that there is inclusion and equity when it comes to entrepreneurship. When I think about all of the different types of businesses that we've been able to help launch, there is nothing more special to me than being able to help people take their dreams and activate them for the greater good.
My experience with the Create campaign started in 2018 when I was still working for another employer. I was trying to figure out the best way to translate the skill set that I was offering another organization and then market that for myself and become an entrepreneur. I connected with Christina Long and she was able to give me some insight on some of the things that she had recommended and some things that she had went through when she transitioned into an entrepreneur herself. She then connected me to the Create campaign environment, and so it was my goal and mission for the whole year of 2019 to get involved as much as possible. I attended business brunches, I connected to other entrepreneurs, I asked for advice, I asked for help. She was able to help me strategize what I had envisioned and on paper and put it to life. Fast forward to where we are, I was able to leave my employer and become a full-time entrepreneur. So some of the things that I would like to take away from that is the fact that when you need someone to be able to help you navigate through your thoughts, if you need someone to help you visualize and turn that vision into action, that is what the Create campaign does, and that's what it's done for me. When you think about how to grow your business, now that I'm 1 year in, what do I do next? How do I top my first year? That is where the Create campaign comes in. So I stay connected, I stay involved, I attend events, and I may just pick up the phone, and if it's something that she can direct me to, then she gives me resources and opportunities within the community. So for anyone who's wanting to be an entrepreneur, anyone who's thinking about taking their passion and turning it into profit, is what I call it, reach out to the Create campaign, because this is the place where you can gather not only support, but tools, but also resources that can help you turn that vision into a reality.
How are you doing? I'm Kevin Phillips Jr., the owner of the Right Moves and Halls LLC. So what I would say about the Create campaign and Christina Long is that it has basically been the fire underneath the rocket of my business. It has basically given me the funding that I needed to get certain equipment to do bigger jobs. Gave me the confidence to go speak to the customers of different larger corporations and companies, and to be able to bid confidently and just understand the value and self-worth of business and bidding. I would say that anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur, definitely please reach out to the Create campaign, because there's no such thing as the information not being available. They actually will go out and do the actual footwork to get the research that you need to start your business, to see you along your business, or if you are already up and running business and you just need certain refining tools of that nature, they also offer the programs and resources of that nature to refine your company and to help you build and grow your company and see its company soar. So I would definitely advise all up-and-coming entrepreneurs or future entrepreneurs or already established entrepreneurs to still reach out to the Create campaign, because it is a great campaign. It is a great program to be a part of, and I'm actually a graduate of one of the first classes that they hosted, so thank you.
Camp Destination Innovation Incorporated mentors youth interested in business science and technology. Founder Marquita Atkins is a community educator who brings her passion for working with youth and her creative energy to the table as a facilitator. For years, she has dedicated herself to ensuring that young people are equipped with the tools for a better future. She was born and raised in Wichita, Kansas, and graduated with a degree in communications from Wichita State University. Marquita's passion for youth and development is rooted in her conviction that youth are the change makers we need for the transformation of our communities, both today and in the future. Camp Destination Innovation's mission is to facilitate pathways for marginalized youth to achieve economic success, as well as creating impactful and forward-thinking innovations in support of the Wichita community. Marquita Atkins.
I feel like if you want to cultivate good fruit, you got to start with the roots. When we look at young kids, especially youth of color, they don't have the same accessibility that other kids have. One of the reasons why I started Camp Destination Innovation is because I used to go around to different business and entrepreneurship events. And when I went to those events, I would see strong business leaders, white males, and they would bring their sons. And I was looking at these little boys running around, and I would think to myself, by the time that these young boys are 18 years old, they would not only have the resources, they would have the network, and they would have the mindset to be successful entrepreneurs. And I had to ask myself, why aren't we doing this for our kids? Why aren't we not creating those type of accessibilities for our kids? Our kids always start behind the curve, and I thought it was time for us to put them ahead of the game. And by starting Camp Destination Innovation and connecting them to leaders and entrepreneurs across this city, we're getting them ready. So by the time they're 18 years old, they will have the mindset, they will have the resources, and they will have the network to be successful leaders and entrepreneurs.
Wichita, it's been real. Big thanks again to Wichita State University's Office of Diversity and Inclusion. I leave you with this. In the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word. Kristen M. Gunter, signing out. God bless.